Hi, I'm Sibel. As you know, Emerson said I was going to read the 4th, 9th, and 16th. Right now I'm going to read the 4th for Harry Potter, Sorcerer is a Stone. I don't know how to pronounce it, so a little bit about me. I don't know. I've been in some of Emerson's videos, not too many, but like a few of them. Like, we used to make movies. They're really weird. I feel like the summer camp movie will be better since we're older. That's what I feel like. I feel like that is going to be better. Me and Emerson met when we were in kindergarten. I don't really know. I mean, I do a few hobbies. I do some horseback riding. That's really it. And, well, yeah, I guess I'm going to be reading this cover off on the floor. Let's get started with the 4th chapter. I'm trying to find the 4th chapter. Okay. Chapter 4, The Keeper of the Keys. As you can see. Emerson said, of course, there's like no pictures. That's it. Apple and Hagrid. Okay, let's go. Boom! They knocked again. Dudley jerked awake. Where's the cannon? He said stupidly. There was a crash behind them, and Uncle Vernon came skidding down the room. He was holding a rifle in his hands. Now they knew they had been in the long, thin package he had brought with them. Who's there? He shouted. I warn you, I'm armed. There was a pause. Then, smash! The door was hit with such force that it swung clean off its hinges. With a deafening crash, landed flat on the floor. A giant of a man was standing in the doorway. His face was almost completely hidden by a long, shaggy mane of beard and a wild, tangled beard. You should make out his eyes glinting like black beetles under the hair. The giant squeezed his way into the hut, stooping so that his head just brushed the ceiling. He bent down, picked up the door, and fitted it easily back into the frame. The noise of the storm outside dropped a little. He turned to look at all of them. Couldn't make a cup of tea, could ya? It's not an easy journey. He strode over to the sofa where Dudley had sat frozen with fear. Budge up, ya little lump, said the stranger. Dudley squeaked and ran behind his mother, who was crouching, terrified, behind Uncle Vernon. And here's Harry, said the giant. Harry looked up into the fierce, wild, shadowy face and saw that the beetle eyes were crinkled and smiled. Last time I saw you was a wee baby, said the giant. You only look like your dad, but you got your mom's eyes. Uncle Vernon made a funny rasping noise. I demand that you leave at once, he said. You are breaking and entering. Ah, shut up, Dursley, ya great prune, said the giant. He reached over to the back of the sofa, jerked the gun out of Uncle Vernon's hands, bent it, and knocked as easily as it has been made of rubber, and threw it into the corner of the room. Uncle Vernon made another funny noise, like a mouse being trodden on. Anyway, Harry, said the giant, turning his back on the Dursleys, a very happy birthday to ya. Got summat for ya here. I might have sat on it at some point, but it'll taste all right. From an inside pocket of his black overcoat, he pulled out a slightly squashed box. Harry opened it with trembling fingers. Inside was a large, sticky chocolate cake with Happy Birthday, Harry written in green icy. Harry looked up at the giant. He meant to say thank you, but those words got lost in his mouth. And what he said instead was, Who are you? The giant chuckled. True, I have been true to myself. Rubeus Hagrid, keeper of the keys and grounds of Hogwarts. He held out an enormous hand and shook Harry's whole arm. What about tea then, huh? he said, rubbing his hands together. I'm not, I say no to summit stronger if ya got it, mind. His eyes fell on the empty grate with the shriveled chip bags and he snorted. He bent down over the fireplace. They couldn't see what he was doing, but he drew back a second later. There was a roaring fire there. It filled up the whole damp hut with flickering light, and Harry felt the warmth wash over as he'd sunk into a hot bath. The giant sat back on the sofa, which sagged under his weight, and began talking about all sorts of things out of the pockets in his coat: a copper kettle, a squashy package of sausages, a poker, a teapot, several chip mugs, and a bottle of some amber liquid that he took a swig from before he started making tea. Soon the hut was filled with sound and the smell of sizzling sausage. No one said a thing while the giant was working, but he slid the first 6 fat, juicy, slightly burned sausages from the poker. Dudley fidgeted a little. Uncle Vermin said sharply, "Don't touch anything he gives you, Dudley." The giant chuckled darkly. "Your great puddin' of a son don't need fattening any more, Dursley. Don't worry." He passed the sausages to Harry, who was so hungry he had never tasted anything so wonderful, but he still couldn't take his eyes off the giant. Finally, as nobody seemed about to explain anything, he said, "I'm sorry, I don't really know who you are." The giant took a gulp of tea and wiped his mouth with the back of his hand. "Call me Hagrid," he said. "Everyone does. And I look to ya, I'm the keepers of keys at Hogwarts. You'll know at Hogwarts, of course." No," said Harry. Howard looked shocked. "Sorry," Harry said quickly. "Sorry?" barked Hagrid, turning to stare at the Dursleys, who shrank back into the shadows. "It's them who should be sorry. I knew ye weren't getting your letters, but I never thought ye wouldn't even know about Hogwarts for crying out loud. Did ye ever wonder where your parents learned it all?" "All what?" Harry asked. "All what?" Hagrid thundered. "Now, just 1 second." He had leaped to his feet in anger and seemed to fill the whole hut. The Dursleys were cowering against the wall. Do you mean to tell me," he growled at the Dursleys, that this boy knows nothing about anything?" Harry thought that this was going a bit far. He had been to school after all, and his marks weren't bad. "I know some things," he said. I can, do math and stuff." But Hagrid simply waved his hand and said, "About our world. I mean your world, my world, your parents' world." "What world?" Hagrid looked as if he was about to explode. "Dursley!" he boomed. Uncle Vermin, who had gone very pale, whispered something that sounded mimble-wimble. Hagrid stared wildly at Harry. "But you must know about your mom and dad," he said. "I mean, they're famous. You're famous." "What? My mom and dad weren't famous, were they?" "Yeah. Don't know. Yeah. Don't know." Hagrid ran his fingers through his hair, fixing Harry with a wild stare. "You don't know who you are," he said finally. Uncle Vermin suddenly found his voice. "Stop!" he commanded. "Stop right there, sir. I forbid you to tell the boy anything." A braver man than Vermin Dursley would have quailed under the furious look Hagrid now gave him. When Hagrid spoke, his every syllable trembled with a, "You never told him of the letter Dumbledore left for him. I was there. I saw Dumbledore leave it. Dursley, ain't you keep it from him for all these years?" "Keep what from me?" said Harry eagerly. "Stop! I forbid you!" yelled Uncle Vermin in panic. Aunt Petunia gave a gasp of horror. Ah, go boil your heads, both of you, said Hagrid. Harry, you're a wizard. There was a silence in the hut. Only the sea of the whistling wind could be heard. I'm a what? Harry gasped. A wizard, of course, said Harry, sitting back down on the sofa, which groaned and sank even lower. And a thumping good, and I say you been trained a bit. With Mum and a dad like yours, what else would you be? And I reckon about time you read your letter. Harry stretched out his hands at last and took the yellowish envelope addressed to email green and emerald green to Mr. H. Potter, the floor hut on the rocks, the sea. He pulled out the letter and read, Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Headmaster Albus Dumbledore, Order of Merlin First Class, Grand Sork, Warlock, Supreme Mugwump, Internal Corvids of Wizard. Dear Mr. Potter, we are pleased to inform you that you have been accepted to Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Please find enclosed a list of necessary books and equipment. Term begins September 1st. We await your owl by no later than July 31st. Sincerely, Marinda McGonagall, Deputy Headmaster. Question exploded in Harry's head like fireworks, and he couldn't decide which to ask first. After a few minutes, he stammered, What does it mean? They await my owl? Galloping Gorons, that remind me, said Hagrid, clapping a hand to his forehead with enough force to knock over a cart horse and form yet another pocket inside the overcoat. He pulled out an owl, a real-life, rather ruffled-looking owl, a long quill and a roll of parchment. With his tongue between his teeth, he scribbled a note that Harry read upside down. Dear Professor Dumbledore, given Harry his letter, taking him to buy his things tomorrow. Weather's horrible. Hope you're well, Hagrid. Hagrid rolled up the note and gave it to the owl, which clamped in his beak and went to the door and threw the owl out into the storm, and then came back and sat down as though it was as normal as talking on the telephone. Harry realized his mouth was open and closed it quickly. Where was I? Said Hagrid, but at the moment Uncle Vernon, still ashen-faced but looking very angry, moved at the firelight. He's not going, he said. Hagrid grunted. I'd like to see great muggle of you stop him, he said. A what? Harry interested. A muggle, said Hagrid. It's what we call non-magic folk like them. Ain't your best luck growing up in your family the biggest muggles I've ever laid eyes on. We swore we took him in when we put that rubbish, said Uncle Vernon. Swore we stamped out of him. Wizard indeed. You knew? Said Harry. You knew I'm a wizard? No, shrieked Aunt Petunia suddenly. No, of course we knew. How could you not be my dratted sister, being of what she was? Oh, she got a letter just like that and disappeared off to that school, and came home every vacation with her pockets full of frog spawn, turning teacups into rats. I was the only one who saw her for what she was, a freak. But my mother and father, oh no, it was Lily, this and Lily, that. They were proud of having a witch in the family. She stopped to draw a deep breath and then went ranting on. It seemed like she had been waiting to say it for all these years. And then she met that Potter at school and then left them just when they got married. And then had you, of course. I knew you'd be just the same, just as strange, just as abnormal. And then, if you please, she went on and went herself blown up as we got landed with you. Harry had gone very white. As soon as he found his voice, he said, Blown up? You told me they died in a car crash. Car crash? Roared Hagrid, jumping up so angrily that the Dursley scuttled back into the corner. How could a car crash kill Lily and James Potter? That's an outrage, a scandal. Harry Potter not knowing his own story when every kid in the world knows his name. But why? What happened? Harry asked urgently. The anger faded from Hagrid's face. He looked suddenly anxious. I never expected, he said in a low, very worried voice. I had no idea when Dumbledore told me that there might be trouble getting a hold of you. How much of you didn't know? Oh, Harry, I don't know if I'm the right person to tell you, but someone's got it. You can't go off to Hogwarts not knowing. He threw a dirty look at the Dursleys. Well, it's best if you know as much as I can tell you. Mind, I can't tell you everything. It's a great mystery, parts of it. He sat down, stared at the fire for a few seconds, and then said, It begins, I suppose, with the Curse and Paul, but it's incredible. Yeah, you don't know his name yet. Everyone in our world knows. Who? Well, I don't like saying his name, and if I can't help it, no one does. Why not? Gulping garrully. Harry, people are still scared. Blimey, this was difficult. See, there was a wizard who went bad as you could go. Worse than worse. His name was Harry. Hagrid gulped, but no words came out. Could you write it down? Harry suggested. Nah, I can't spell it. All right. Voldemort. Hagrid shuddered. Don't make me say it again. Anyways, this wizard was about 20 years ago, started looking for followers. Got 'em too. Some were afraid and just wanted a bit of his power. 'Cause he was getting himself power, all right? Dark days. Harry didn't know who to trust. Didn't dare to get friendly with strange wizards or witches. Terrible things happened. He was taken over. Some stood up to him, and he killed them horribly. One of those safe places left was Hogwarts. Reckon Dumbledore's the only one, who was afraid of. Didn't dare to try taking the school, not just then anyway. Now your mom and dad were as good as witch and wizard I ever knew. Head boy and Harry at Hogwarts at their day. Suppose my mystery is why you know who never tried to get on his side before. Probably knew that they were too close to Dumbledore to want anything to do with the dark side. Maybe he thought that he could pursue them. Maybe just wanted them all out of there. All anyone knows is he turned up in the village where you were living in Halloween 10 years ago. You were just a year old. He came to your house and Hagrid suddenly pulled out a very dirty spotted handkerchief and blew his nose that sounded like a foghorn. Sorry, he says, but it's that sad. Your mom and dad and nicer people you couldn't find anyway. You know who killed them, and this was the real mystery of the thing. He tried to kill you too. Wanted to make a clean job out of it, I suppose, or maybe he just liked killing by then. But he couldn't do it. Never wondered why you got that mark on your forehead. That is no ordinary cut. That's what you got powerful. Either curse touches you. Took care of your mom and dad. And your house even. But it didn't work on you, and that's why you're famous, Harry. No one ever lived after he decided to kill him. No one expected you, and he killed some of the witches and wizards of the age, the Milkins, and the Bones and the Prudes, and you only a baby and you lived. Something very painful was going on to Harry's mind. As Hagrid's story came too close, he saw again the blinding flash of green light, more clearly than he could ever remember it before, and he remembered something else for the first time in his life, a high, cold, cruel laugh. Hagrid was watching him sadly. Took you from the ruined house myself, on Dumbledore's shoulders. Orders. Brought you to this load of old tosh, said Uncle Vernon. Harry jumped. He almost forgotten that the Dursleys were there. Uncle Vernon certainly seemed to have got back his courage. He was glaring at Hagrid with his fists were clenched. Now you listen to me, boy, he snarled. I accept there's some strange thing about you. Probably nothing a good beating would have cured. And for all this about your parents, well, they were weirdos, no denying it, and the world better off with them, in my opinion. As for getting mixed up with these wizarding types, just what I expected, and they knew they'd come to a sticky end. But at that moment, Hagrid leapt from the sofa and drew a battered pink umbrella from inside his coat, pointing this at the Uncle Vernon like a sword. He said, I'm warning you, Dursley. I'm warning you. One more word. In danger of being speared on the end of the umbrella by a bearded giant, Uncle Vernon's courage failed again. He flattened himself against the wall and fell asleep. Wait, let me just see something back. That's better, said Hagrid, breathing heavily and sitting back down on the sofa, which this time sagged right down on the floor. Harry, meanwhile, still had questions to ask, hundreds of them. But what happened to Wolf? Sorry, I mean, you know who. Good question, Harry. Disappeared. Vanished. Same night he tried to kill you. Makes you even more famous. That's the biggest mystery. See, he's getting more and more powerful. Why'd he go? Some say he dies. Codswallop, in my opinion. Don't know if he's had enough human left him to die. Some say he's still out there bidding his time. But I don't believe it. People who was on his side came out to ours. Some of them came out kind of transit. Don't reckon they could have done if he was coming back. Most of us reckon he was still there somewhere, but lost his powers, too weak to carry on. 'Cause something about you finished him, Harry. There was something going on that night that he hadn't counted on. I don't know what it was, no one does, but something about you would stump him all right. Hagrid looked at Harry with his warmth and his respect blazing in his eyes. But Harry, instead of feeling pleased and proud, felt quite sure that there had been a horrible mistake. A wizard? Him? How could he possibly be? He'd spent his life without being clouded by Dudley and bullied by Aunt Petunia and Uncle Vernon. If he really was a wizard, why hadn't they turned into warty toads every time that they tried to lock him up in the cupboard? And if he'd once defeated the greatest sorcerer in the world, how come Dudley had always been able to kick him around like a football? Hagrid, he said quietly, I think you must have made a mistake. I don't think I can be a wizard. To his surprise, Hagrid chuckled. Not a wizard, eh? Never made things happen when you were scared or angry? Harry looked into the fire. Now that he'd come to think of it, every odd thing that he'd ever done had ever made his aunt and uncle furious with him had happened to Harry had ever been upset and angry, chased by Dudley's staying, and somehow found himself out of their reach. Dreading going to school with that ridiculous haircut, he managed to make it grow back. And the very last time Dudley had hit him, he hadn't got revenge without even realizing doing it. He hadn't set a boa constrictor on him. Harry looked back at Hagrid, smiling, and saw that Hagrid was positively beaming at him. "See," said Hagrid, "Harry Potter's not a wizard. You Harry Potter, not a wizard. You wait, you'll be right famous at Hogwarts." But Uncle Vernon wasn't going to give in without a fight. "Haven't I told you he's not going?" he hissed. "He's going to Stonewall High, and he'll be grateful for it. I've read those letters, and all he needs is all sorts of rubbish, spell books and wands, and if he wants to go, a great muggle like you won't stop him," growled Hagrid. "Stop Lily and James Potter, son, going to Hogwarts, you mad. His name has been down ever since he was born. He's off of the finest school of witchcraft and wizardry in the world. 7 years, and he won't know himself. He'll be with youngsters of his own sort. For a change, he'll be under the greatest headmaster Hogwarts had ever seen, Albus Dumbledore." "I'm not praying for some crackpot old fool to teach him magic tricks," yelled Uncle Vernon. But he had finally gone too far. Hagrid seized his umbrella and rolled it over his head. "Never," he thundered, "and Albus Dumbledore in front of me." He brought the umbrella switching down through the air to point at Dudley. There was a flash of violet light. It sounded like a firecracker, a sharp sequel. At the next second, Dudley was dancing on the spot with his hands clasped over his fat bottom, howling in pain. When he turned his back on them, Harry saw a curly pig's tail poking through a hole of his trousers. Uncle Vernon roared, pulling Aunt Petunia and Dudley into the other room. He cast one terrifying look at Hagrid and slammed the door behind him. Hagrid looked down at his umbrella and stroked his beard. "Shouldn't have lost me temper," he said roughly. "But it didn't work anyways. Meant to turn him into a pig, but I suppose he was much like a pig anyways. There wasn't much left to do." He cast a sideways look at Harry under his brushy eyebrows. "Be grateful if ya didn't mention to anyone at Hogwarts," he said. "You're not supposed to do magic. Strictly speaking, I was allowed to do a little to y'all follow, ain't ya? And get your letters here and stuff. One o' the reasons I was keen to take on the job." "Why aren't you supposed to do magic?" asked Harry. "Oh, well, I was at Hogwarts myself, but I got expelled. To myself the truth. My 3rd year, they snapped my wand in half and everything, but Dumbledore let me stay on gamekeeper. Great man, Dumbledore." "Why were you expelled?" "It's getting late. We've got lots to do tomorrow," said Hagrid loudly. "Gotta get up to town and all the books." That took off his thick back coat and threw it to Harry. You can keep that under that," he said. "Don't mind if it wriggles a bit. I think I got a couple of dormice in one of those pockets." So that is the end of chapter 4. I may have forgot a few parts because Hagrid's voice, I feel like, is kind of hard, so that's why I kind of pause at some parts, because I feel like Hagrid's voice is hard. So, yeah, I guess so. That's the end. See you back on chapter 9. Remember to share this with your friends, and watch the summer camp movie trailer. It is good. Okay, bye.